I don't want to leave you with too much to do. Let's try to write the version that will pass 1. And I'm going to cheat here. I know that this is what it should return. So let me take that, and I'm just going to return that. Let me make sure that it's formatted okay. Whoops, I'm still learning how to use that. So it looks like it's okay. So what it's going to do is it's always going to return the last verse. It's completely disregarding the bottle. But this is going to allow us to pass this test. What does that look like? So if I run this, then it's going to be failing. But you see, it's not failing this test. It's failing this test. It's asserting that 2 is equal to this, and that's what's failing. This greater than sign here is showing us this is the line of code that's being executed that's failing. And so since we don't see that here, this test passed. But here we're failing because it's expecting to see 2 bottles of beer and it's getting 1 bottle of beer. This is what it's got, and this is what it expected, and it's trying very, very hard to show us right here, this character, it got 1, but it expected 2. It got bottle, but it expected bottles. So we need to figure out how to handle that. And I show you here in the book that you think about what needs to be returned. For any given verse, you need to return 4 lines of text. The third one is always the same. Take one down, pass it around. But the first 2 lines are almost identical to each other, where this is going to be the bottle that's being passed in, and then you have to figure out the second word here needs to be either bottle or bottles, depending on the number of the bottle. So number, bottle or bottles of beer on the wall, same thing, bottles of beer. The third line is always the same. And then the last line is always going to be bottle minus 1. Then you need to figure out the singular or plural for that, and then of beer on the wall. So you need to think about how you can go from this to where you have this is a parameter, this is a parameter, this is always the same, the third line, and then you have to figure out what to put here. So I'm going to leave that with you. Try to go from here to writing the function that will pass these 2 tests. And then I believe once you have that, you'll be able to see how to write the program as a whole. To do that, you're going to figure out how to use the verse function in conjunction with what we talked about earlier with how to count backwards. So you know how to count backwards from some given value down to 1. Now you need to generate each one of those verses by counting backwards. So we've got you started here. We've defined the number argument as an int, default value of 10. We've used parser error to make sure that it's not a negative value. We've figured out down the road of how to write this verse function. You have a test verse function that you can use with PyTest to figure out how to write just that function. Once you've got that function working, then figure out how to combine the verse function with the range to create all the verses. And from there, you should be able to use the integration test that I provide with test.py to figure out if you're creating the right output. So hopefully that's enough to get you started. Best of luck.